Hey everyone, welcome to the Seller Financing Creative Deals podcast. I'm Dan Deppen, and today joined by Dave Seymour from the Freedom Venture Investments. Dave, how's it going?
It's all going well, Dan. All going well. I always enjoy the pre-chat to a podcast because
Yeah.
in that 2 to 3 minutes, you get a real feel for the audience who listens to your podcast. But I also like to get a feel for the guy that I'm going to be chatting with for half hour or so. So thanks for having me on here. I'm excited to shoot the breeze a little bit and see what we can see what magic we can or cannot create. Might be boring, but I don't think it will be.
No, I don't think so. No, and I really appreciate you, coming on. You've done a lot of different things and have a very interesting background. So maybe you
Mm.
start by just telling us like a little bit about you or how you got
Yeah.
started.
Yeah, right. My favorite subject.
Hmm.
I think I think being slightly egotistical and self-centered is the mark of a good entrepreneur. So we'll just leave it at that. We won't go any further with that philosophy, if you will. Yeah, look, I'm not from Yale. I didn't graduate Harvard. I'm not from Yale, not from jail. I'm a working class kid from the south of England. I immigrated to the States when I was about 20 years old. Following following the love of my life at the time, my American wife, my first wife, and that brought me along to a number of different roads, if you will, to lead me to where we are today. Coming from England in a blue collar background, I was taught very early that the only way to make a living was to trade time for money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else creates your value in the marketplace. I was talking with my 15-year-old the other day, and he's got his first part-time job, right? And he's scooping ice cream. He loves it. He loves
Mm-hmm.
scooping ice cream. He loves the patter at the window so he can make as much as he can in tips. And he's just into it. He's having a good time. But I think he's earning $15 an hour now. And
Yeah.
he'll only go to college to learn how to socially interact with the people he employs when he graduates. Like that's the purpose of college for him. But
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about if he's earning $15 an hour, I was thinking about, at 20 years old in the States, I was earning 450, $5. I remember I
Yeah,
got
I
a
was gonna say like in the
right.
early 90s when I was in high school, I think minimum wage was like 425-ish, something like
Yeah.
that
I remember
at
I
the
got
time.
bumped up to
Yeah.
$7. And I'm like, whoa, it's gonna be great now. What is $7 an hour? So there's inflation in all kinds of concepts. But anyway, trading time for money was a loser's bet for me. I had no financial education, to be frank with you, Dan.
Hmm.
It was financial illiteracy. There was these things called credit cards, MasterCard and Visa were my very best friends. I used them to keep up with the Joneses.
Oh,
Um, it's a tragic story. Ignorance in any subject has a price to pay, and most people, unfortunately, don't realize that. They follow the masses, and very few.
mhm.
And this isn't a moral story. So anybody listening, it's not a good or bad. It's not a moral story. It's an education story. When I brought that one earning capacity mindset to the table, it has a shelf. It has a shelf life. And I found myself about 30 years old. I'm trading about 120 hours a week for other people's money between three full-time jobs because that's what America allows you to do. It allows
Yeah.
you to work, right? It allows you to work until you die. I was
Hmm.
working as a firefighter and a paramedic just north of Boston. I worked construction, which ended up being a blessing because it led me to real estate eventually. I ran my own little construction company. I was the last person to get paid in my business every single week. Like
I've
sometimes there
been
was
there. I know
right,
how that is. Yeah.
right.
I've been
Sometimes there's
there. Yeah.
nothing left. There's nothing left. It's like, man, I busted my ass to put these deals together, and there's nothing left. Still can make ends meet, and the third job was retail. I'm working security, like undercover store detective stuff. It was,
Uh-huh.
when I tell the story today, at 50, what am I, 58 years old in next month, I tell that story today and I almost want to go back to that young guy and throttle him a little bit and like wake up, right? But I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah, but that one
So,
story makes me think of 6 or 7 years ago when I was getting started with another business and I had one employee and she wanted a raise and things weren't
yeah.
going well. I looked at her, I'm like, you made more than me last month. Like I didn't
Yeah,
make anything.
yeah,
Like I did.
yeah. For some reason, and again, this isn't moral. I'm going to probably pre-frame that a couple of times as we have this conversation because it can be perceived as, right or wrong, good or bad. And for me personally, it's never been that. It's been educated and uneducated. Who do you follow? Guy said to me one time, he said, if you don't pay attention to your money, David, I promise you somebody else will. Let that
Hmm.
sink in a second. If you don't pay attention to your money and your business, David, I promise you somebody else will. And what happened for me was I found myself in a situation. It was pre crash, financial crisis crash, and I was losing my home, 120 hours a week, about $75,000 in unsecured credit card debt, and a marriage that was tanking. That marriage didn't work. It's hard to
Hmm.
be a husband and a father if you don't, if you don't have the ability to be present with those people. You pay a price again, right? Education, lack of education, you pay a price. Anyway, I was losing my home. I got divorced. I was remarried. This marriage, I wanted it to work. She wanted it to work. And I remember I was sitting down in my truck down at the beach and I'm screaming at my God. I'm a man of faith. I'm a believer and I'm screaming at him. Like I want to go rumble with God because I'm so broken because of financial ignorance.
Hmm.
I'm praying. I'm looking for a way. Show me the way. Nothing, nothing, nothing. I'm like, forget it. I'm going home. We're going to lose the house. It is what it is. I turned the ignition on in my truck, and a commercial came on the radio because I listen to news radio. Commercial came on. Teach me foreclosure. A free 1.5 hour seminar coming to your neck of the woods.
Oh
Learn
wow.
how to do real estate. Ready for all you creative financiers out there? Learn how to do real estate with no money down. And
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
like the Holy Grail. That's
yeah,
what it
right.
is. Yeah.
Holy be in the word, because I'm praying. I'm figuring there's nothing there, and then that commercial hit my radio station. So I took a leap of faith. Some guy says, "Is it odd? Is it God? Is he working in your life? Is it not working in your life?" I know today it was working in my life. Anyway, so that led me into real estate investing. I learned the power of contracts. I learned the power of no money down real estate because I had no money. I was more than broke, right?
Hmm.
I learned how to transact small real estate deals, larger real estate deals. My wife became my first private lender. She paid for
Oh.
my extended education because there was a check to write for 35 grand, I think it was, for the classes that I took later on. But it
Hmm.
began to snowball and it kept going. And that exposure put me on, a TV show we did Flip in Boston with A&E Network, and I got
Yeah,
to
I was
have
going to ask you about that.
yeah.
How was that
Yeah,
experience?
look, man, it's a reality TV show. So everybody focus on the word show, please. You're not going to make 50,000 to $100,000 in an hour the way it's portrayed on a TV show. There is plenty of drama. There are plenty of pitfalls and mistakes that can happen, but I just leaned into it and we had some fun with it. But what it did do, which is super important, most people in any business, right? They always say, how can you position yourself as an expert in your field, whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
And the TV show did that. It obviously, if you're on TV, you got to be an expert, right? You got to know what you're doing. That's not true, by the way. You can be an absolute donkey on a TV show and
Yeah,
still,
if it's entertaining.
right?
It's funny because that sounds similar to earlier this year. Pace Morby was out here in Denver, and
I know
he,
Pace.
he talked
Pace was
about
part of a mastermind with
his
me.
show
Yeah,
and stuff. Yeah, and
yeah,
he said some similar things. Like it sounded like he would get annoyed with some of the things they cared about or the filming, and yeah, it didn't
yeah.
necessarily pay like millions of dollars like you
Oh
might think.
God, no. The
No.
first three episodes we did paid $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
The last seven we did paid 30 or 35,000. So
Uh-huh.
one person would say, well, that's a lot of money. Well, not when it takes 6, 8, 10 weeks to shoot an episode. And we in
Yeah.
New England, where I am, we really do real estate, right? It's not,
Mm-hmm.
no offense to any Arizonans, I don't know, people who live in Arizona, no offense to
Yeah.
people in Vegas, but it's not just paint and carpet, get in, get out. I've got stock that's 100+ years old that needs
Yeah.
some serious love and attention. So yeah, I didn't have any Kardashian money. That's for sure. My booty's not pretty enough to get
Yeah,
Kardashian
to do
money.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But here's the thing, right? Like I said, that then, positions you as the expert, and how you leverage that perception afterwards, well, that's on you, the entrepreneur. So I was super blessed to be able to. I've been an educator. I've been educated in real estate, and I've been an educator in real estate. And when the
Hmm.
TV show hit, it allowed us to up the game, if you will, because of brand awareness for what we were doing in the education space. And I've taught live, seminar events, one-on-one coaching, online deliverables. I've taught anything from hard money lending, private money lending, seller financing, single family, multifamily, lease options. There's not many strategies in real estate that I haven't been blessed to touch and execute on in my career. But it started with that expert brand, if you will, that allowed me
Yeah.
to lean into that stuff. It's been a fun ride. It's been good.
Well, let me ask you this, since you have so much experience in the
Yeah,
education realm, because I do a little bit of that myself
yeah,
in notes and whatnot. Of all the formats, say like, online courses, like one-to-one
yeah,
seminar, like
yeah.
what's the best format that gets somebody results like the fastest? Because there's some people.
Results for us as the
No,
educators, or
no,
results for the
results for
students?
results for them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, man, I can share with you, this gets into psychology more than anything else, right? Every
Hmm.
one of us has a belief system. And most people that lean into real estate education are looking to solve a problem. They're looking to solve their immediate financial challenge. They're looking to solve retirement. They're looking to whatever it may be, right? They're trying to solve a problem. And real estate solves all of those problems. However, anybody who tells you it's easy is a liar. So the
Hmm.
thing is that a lot of these people, I can motivate you to do real estate. I can motivate you to get invested in yourself. I can motivate you to, write that check and make that financial investment in yourself. But motivation is temporary. And the thing is do you then as a student have the discipline to create the permanency of the results that you're trying to duplicate? And I personally, with that firefighter background, I knew that if I continue with the evolutions and the repetition, if I leaned in, if I made the offers, even if I didn't stand a hope in hell of getting a yes on that offer, make offers, research properties, build your network, doing all of these things. If I did those, I got results. So the sad part is you say, what's the best way to get a result? The answer to that is yes. Yes, that's
Yeah.
the best way to get a result. Stop talking about it. Don't tell me you're an entrepreneur when everything you do shows me you're an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. How many
Yeah.
offers did you make this week? Well, no, I didn't make any offers. I didn't talk to anybody about buying their notes. I didn't try and do any lease options. I haven't talked to any realtors. I haven't set up my marketing plan. But this doesn't work. Correct. The way you're doing it, whoever you are, yes, it doesn't work. If you do it the way I do it, if you do it the way Dan does it, if you do it the way other people have been successful and can show and document that success, what are you, special? You're not smart enough? Guy said to me one time, he goes, Dave, you want to know the secret to real estate? I go, what's that? He goes, learn how to sign your name and just be really good at fifth grade math. He said, if you can do those two things, real estate can work for you. But you got to implement, right? Educate, don't speculate, and then implement. So it's
Yeah.
implementation is what gets the results. I'm sorry to be kind of general, but it's the reality that I've experienced in my career.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Like it's always fascinating how someone will do a course and tear into it and do really well. And
Yeah,
then I've seen other people spend, in some cases, large amounts of money on
yeah,
like real estate
yeah,
education and then
yeah.
not even do anything with it. So,
What I will tell you is this is what I've seen in any subject. And it sounds like a pitch, and I don't care if it sounds like a pitch because it's based in reality. To expedite success, mentorship, coaching, and guidance are a critical piece that most people will do this to. They go, oh, no, I don't want to spend 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever on a coach. If I look at the dollar amounts I've invested in myself through coaches over the years, I'm probably 250, 300, maybe even a $500,000, where I've
hmm.
looked at it and said, what is that person doing? Are they doing what I want to do? And are they doing it a darn sight better than me? And do they have reproducible systems that I can turn a switch on and duplicate? And if I can answer those questions with a yes, is it honest? Is it legal? Is it ethical? Do I want to do it? And can I do it? If I can answer those questions, then I invest the money in myself and I do it. And I always preface it with investing the money in myself. If I hire you
Hmm.
as a coach, Dan, I'm not investing in you, I'm investing in me. But you better be the coach that I believe you to be, because now we can go and get success together. And what most people don't realize is if I take Dan's course in note buying, right, and I
Hmm.
crush it, I promise you, Dan is going to put me up front and center to say, look what this guy did under my expertise, right? And
Yeah,
now you
exactly.
are the expert that you wanted to be because you got the results to prove it. So it's the individual, man. It's the individual for
Yeah, that
sure.
makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Good stuff.
yeah. So maybe you can tell us a little bit, like I know you're heavily involved in multifamily and maybe
Yeah.
get into that because that's an area that I know personally know pretty much zero
Okay.
about. So, yeah.
Okay. Here's the summary of multifamily real estate. The most important piece of a multifamily transaction is the tenant. That's the most important piece. Everything
Hmm.
else is sticks and bricks and numbers. And respect for those tenants. My coach, my mentor in multifamily years ago, he said to me, Dave, you got to understand there are people that will get up every day, put on their work shoes, go out the door, do an 8 hours of work to pay down the debt service on your property, increase the equity in your property, and make you wealthy. How are you going to treat them? How are you going to treat them?
Yeah.
He said, you're going to
Yeah.
treat them like the gold that they are, or you're going to let your pride and your ego and your wealth creation separate you from the service that you provide them. Now, the flip side of that is they get the honor, the privilege to be in our clean, decent, affordable housing units. So we keep them safe, we keep them community oriented, and we take good care of those people. Repairs, community awareness, whatever the challenges are going forward. You know, when
Hmm.
when when COVID hit, I got together with a good friend of mine, been in multifamily for a while. You know, everything was chaos in 2020, as you know. My hard
Yeah.
money lending business, just took a smashing, man. I got brutalized. I was out of business in such a short period of time because I didn't
Hmm.
control the capital. I was using other people's money, a Wall Street line of credit, to create flip loans, buy, fix, and flip loans.
Yeah.
Anyway, that went down real quick, and I'm like, what am I going to do now? Right? What do I want to be when I grow up? You reset, you go back to your skill set, you look at the landscape, you say, okay, with confidence and intelligence, what's next? And during COVID, those early months, think about it. If you could go back there, it's like everybody was, my wife was wiping down the Amazon boxes as they were getting delivered.
Oh yeah, it was so weird. I remember the first time, like when they really locked down, the first time going to the grocery store,
Yeah,
and everybody was like afraid to be near each other, and there was this
yeah,
guy, and he had his mask on, and he looked like a survivor from an apocalypse, like in a movie. He was like
yeah,
creeping around like the aisles,
yeah.
and I'm like, what is going on here? But
Yeah, the
yeah,
whole
I
world went
was,
crazy. You knew it was crazy, right? When you could go into a bank wearing a mask and dark glasses.
yeah, that's
At a
strange. Yeah,
baseball,
like
at a
normally that's a
baseball.
no. And then I remember the other funny memory was I was, then of course there was like the toilet paper crisis thing,
Oh
and
yeah,
I
yeah,
was at Costco, and they were, when you buy toilet paper at Costco, it's like 100, whatever. It's a
yeah,
gigantic
yeah,
amount,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and they limited it to one per person. I remember seeing a guy in the parking lot. His back of his truck was stuffed, and he was like stuffing toilet paper in, and he already had another one in there, which meant that like he had to go, like, buy one and go back in the store and buy more, and he didn't even have room. I'm like, yeah, it was,
yeah.
yeah, people definitely got
Crazy
crazy.
times,
Yeah.
crazy times. So I got together with a friend of mine and I said, what the heck is going on, brother? What's next? And he was down in the Florida market.
Hmm.
And he said to me, he said, we've got moratorium, tenants can't get evicted, people don't have to pay their mortgages, people don't have to pay their rent. I mean, it was all the rules of the game went out the window overnight.
Yeah.
And he said, what I think is going to happen, he said, was that there was a good argument to be made that there was going to be this influx of multifamily assets that should come at a reduction, based on the fact that the mom and pop operators, the small operators wouldn't have the ability to weather the storm, if you will, and would need to sell. And he said, so
Mm-hmm.
let's raise money, let's raise some capital, let's be ready with a cash offer and go in and take out these assets. So that's what we started to do. We started to raise money and get ready for that. But who could have predicted that the administration, whichever one was in office at the time and during the chaos, would decide, you
Yeah.
know what, we can't let this crisis run its natural course, either medically or economically, right? We can't let it do that. We got to
Yeah.
intervene. We got to control it. Let's throw money at it. That's what we're good at. And they printed more money from 2020 through to 22, 23 than they had printed in like the 15 or 20 years prior.
Yeah, it was bananas. Like I remember when that hit, and I had a decent sized loan portfolio, smaller like single family homes, and I
Yeah,
remember sitting down and going, "Okay, I got to buckle up because this is going to get super weird. Like
yeah.
everything's going to go red, and I got to be like on point to navigate this."
Hmm. Hmm.
But then what happened was they started sending everybody checks, and it was okay. Like I had some borrowers that kind of like used that as an excuse for a while or whatever, but
Yeah.
by and large, like for me, like owning my loans, like it worked out okay because all my borrowers got tons of free money to that they
Yeah.
used to
Oh, for
pay me.
sure.
So
What it, there's a lesson right in that statement right there. The bank and whoever controls the money always wins. I said it right at the beginning of this call, remember? Dave, if you're
yeah.
not paying attention to your money, I promise you somebody else is, right? And what we learned during that is when there was that trillions of dollars come into the market, when there's no value in a dollar bill anymore, which there isn't, by the way, but when there's no value,
Yeah.
when there's no transference of goods and services, the whole game is now rigged. It goes wrong real quick. And what we found is instead of buying opportunities, it was a mad dash. There were more buyers in the market than there were sellers, right? So
Mm-hmm.
basic economics, what happens to the price? It goes up. And in commercial real estate, it's called a capitalization rate. The smaller the cap rate, the more expensive the assets. And we saw
Mm-hmm.
cap rate just squeeze down. And we're like, okay, this didn't work.
Yeah.
So can you pivot in any situation? Can you pivot? So the answer is always yes for us. We've been very lean as a company, and we started looking at other opportunities, land opportunities, some smaller multifamily assets that the big boys didn't want. There's always a
Mm-hmm.
niche. There's always a niche in a market where you can find opportunities if you know how to look and underwrite and just investigate, right? It's kind of treasure hunting. So that's what we did. And we got through all of that chaos. And where we're at today is we have access to capital that allows us to buy multifamily assets. And what we're going to see through 25, 27, maybe into early 28, middle of 28, is there's approximately the last numbers we pulled down is shy of $1 trillion of commercial real estate notes. So this is your world that
Mm-hmm.
are in distress. They're already
Yeah.
distressed. They're trying to do workouts. They can't get them done. So we as a team here said, well, how can we capitalize on that? Because you could, when no matter how much money you have, you always need more in this game if you stay in it. So what we did
Mm-hmm.
was we created Legacy Alliance, which is an education brand, which is to my heart, right? I get to go back and teach and show people. And Legacy Alliance is an alliance. And what we do is we teach people through free resources how to underwrite and search for and find multifamily assets the way that we buy them. Legacy Wealth Masterclass is a free class, and I think they'll have all the links and stuff for you at the end of the show if anybody's
Yeah,
interested.
I'll put them all in the description. Yeah.
Yeah, but what that does for them is it creates for us, the plan is, 50, 100, maybe 200 qualified individuals who have the ability to find deal flow that they can capitalize themselves. If the deal makes sense, we can maybe capitalize it with them, right? So we're
Mm-hmm.
spending a lot of time in that education. We wrote a book, Inflation Nation. It's probably backwards. Oh,
Oh,
it's not. There you go.
no, it
Hard
looks good.
copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Inflation Nation. It's just talking about, how Wall Street operates, not necessarily always in our favor. If people don't
Mm-hmm.
want to read that book, they can go to Inflation Nation, the movie, and we shot a 1 hour documentary. So there's a ton of resources. And like I said, I'm sure you'll share it. But
Yeah.
what that does for us is it keeps me engaged, it keeps me excited. I get to talk to people. I get to train with people. I get to do podcasts like this, which is also big benefits. But it's happening. It's happening right now. To be able to capitalize on what's next coming down the pike.
No, that's super cool. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I found when I've done things whether it's like written content or like course type stuff, like I'm
Mm.
the biggest beneficiary because it really like helps me like clarify my
Yeah.
thinking on things and like I've used them as a
Yeah.
mechanism like to put my little systems together
Yeah.
and things
Yeah.
like
I don't
that.
know.
So
Do you experience this too? When I have to teach a concept, what it does is, and this, I hope this doesn't sound egotistical, but for me is when I teach a concept or I teach a strategy or I teach a networking strategy, if I teach people how to save, hundreds of thousands of dollars in their taxes, et cetera, if I'm teaching these things, it reinforces for me, hey, I do know what I'm doing because you've always got that feeling. I do anyway. I can't speak for anybody. I get that feeling in the back of my head sometimes, like, dude, you're a firefighter and a blue collar guy. What are you doing? And then when I hear myself teach and you see that response and the results that people get from that teaching, that's a super super cool. It's almost like a reinforcement of the fact of what it is that we do because you can serve them and they do well. It's a beautiful thing, man. Anyway, that's
yeah,
that's for
for
me.
for me it kind of sharpens me up, right? Because as I'm like
Yeah,
documenting, like, well, here's how I do this, and I go, well, wait a minute, this would actually be better if I added this step, or I should really do it
yeah.
exactly like this,
Or
and then
took
it,
a step out.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
have a little bit of a tendency, you cut corners as you get familiar with things, but
Yeah, no cutting corners. Can't do that.
no,
Not good. No, I'm with you. Naughty, naughty. Guy said to me one time, he said, everything that he created in the education space was based off of his own failures.
yeah,
Not his successes, but his failures. And I'm like, whoa, that's good. That's good. You know what I mean? Guy said to me, you'll pay for your education one way or another, Dave. You'll either pay for it by being with us and learning with us. He said, or you'll pay for it by going out and making your own mistakes. He said, but I
hmm,
promise you, it's going to cost a lot less financially working with us than it would if you make a 20, 30, 40, $50,000 mistake out in the marketplace. Because what those do is they ruin that reputation that you're trying to build. Those mistakes, you can't come back from some of them. So I've never forgotten that information, man. I try very hard
yeah.
to keep
I've
that.
definitely made a number of those. Like, thankfully, no existential
Yeah,
mistakes. Like,
yeah, yeah.
and then my two like really bad deals, like the saving grace on those was I did them with my own money, so that
Ah, there you
worked
go.
out from
There you
that
go.
perspective. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
worked out.
I tell you, people appreciate you losing your money and not theirs when you're doing a transaction. I've been there too. Six-figure losses. You only make those mistakes one time. You know what I mean? You only make those mistakes one time. I had a meeting with the guy today I was telling you about. We were talking about sober housing and the
Yeah.
economics behind sober housing. I'm sober myself. I've been 35 years without a drink, a drug, a mood, a mind altering substance. So it's close to my heart as well to be able
Hmm.
to give clean, decent, affordable housing and services and support. But we were talking, we were just sharing a few stories. The guy had made millions of dollars in losses of his own money to be
Hmm.
where he is today. Like entrepreneurship is not a straight line. It's not the glorious hockey stick that
Yeah.
some people out there tell you about. Real estate is not. It's not. Show me the money, Jerry, and these private jets and Rolls Royces and all of that BS. I mean,
Yeah, I always laugh
it's
like
not my thing.
especially like in the note space because like I've seen people out there that have gone, oh, I've done hundreds of these and I've never lost money on one. And to me, that means either they didn't do all that stuff at all, or they're lying, or both. Like if you've done
Or
enough,
they're
like
super
yeah,
lucky.
stuff
They should play the
happens.
lottery. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a lot of people sell and promote education on a greed-based lifestyle. Okay. I always say, don't do real estate for bikinis and palm trees and Bugattis. There's enough clowns out there, with tattoos and you know
Hmm.
jarheads who tell you, I get up at 3 o'clock every morning and eat 52 pounds of spinach, 10 pounds of fish, and then I go for a run. Yep, stop it, you numbnuts. Please, dear Lord, stop it. the most effective people out there, I find, are people who ask one thing every day, and that is to put people first before profits. We're in the service
Hmm.
business, all of us, man. I don't know the note game. It's not my jam. I've done a little bit of that, nothing to write home about. But the note game, I'm going to make some assumptions, serves people. It serves a
Hmm.
person in distress. It serves you as the investor. If you bring private lenders in on those notes, it serves them as well.
Hmm.
Serve, serve, serve. If I put people first and profit second, I got a pretty good shot at being successful. But if I go in there with, you know, motives that are not pure, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It gets a little dicey. So real estate's been good to me, man. It's the only business I know as well where it's more about collaboration than competition. And I know that may sound a little bizarre in the opportunistic world in which we live, but if you think of it this way, if you've got a roast beef restaurant, right, a sub joint or whatever, I sell roast beef sandwiches, and right next door to me is a guy who sells roast beef sandwiches. I don't care, man. Any way you look at it, you're competing with each other. But in real
Hmm.
estate, that collaborative approach, I'm the deal sourcer, I'm the capital raiser, or I'm the contractor, or collaborating with the seller in a creative finance situation, collaborating with the real estate agent. Don't just put your license on the wall and sell me a house. Why don't you put your money where your mouth is and put some money in this deal and we'll share profits together? Let's collaborate on this thing. Let's have you
Hmm.
vested in my success and I'll be vested in yours. That's what I like about real estate. And it attracts, right? Attracts, like will attract like. So I avoid, to the best of my ability, I avoid all of the ego shite that comes with real estate investing and large money transactions.
Yeah, and usually with those folks, there's always like not great stuff lurking under the covers. And like to your
For
earlier
sure.
point, like I found that, yeah, it's not yeah, competition isn't really what holds you back if you're remotely creative and
Right.
in what you're doing, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
For
more to
sure.
your earlier point of like going out and actually
Yeah.
doing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. You were, you mentioned Pace Moby earlier,
Hmm.
and I met Pace at a mastermind down in Tampa, and his partner Jamil there. Cool guys. You know what I mean? Just cool guys, creative guys, young guys.
Yeah.
So my TV show had wound up or whatever, and theirs was beginning to start. And the thing that I liked about both of those guys was there was already humility in there. You know what I mean? There's humility in because they'd ask questions about the industry and blah, 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 and they genuinely wanted to learn. I
Hmm.
wished for myself I had asked them about their online marketing skills because
Oh, they're
I'd been
good
doing,
at it. Yeah,
oh
very
man,
good
they
at
got
it.
game. Oh man, they got game for
And I
sure.
mean they definitely deliver
Mm,
on it. So I have so
mm,
many clients in that community. I went ahead and joined it just because it made sense
mm,
to be
mm,
there. And what they have is
mm,
kind of amazing under the covers. But if you look at like a lot of the stuff they teach, doing like wrap loans and subject twos, I mean,
mm.
people were doing that in the late 70s and early 80s a
Yeah, they
lot.
were.
None of
Yeah,
it
they were.
is actually new. Like the
So
market
nothing's
conditions are
new.
pretty
That's
conducive
so
now. It's funny.
good.
I
Yeah.
I was finally doing my will and trust and all that stuff. And I was talking to
Mm.
my attorneys, asking me what I do, and I was telling them about some of the creative finance stuff and wrap loans and whatnot. And he goes, "Oh, people are still doing those?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I created a boatload of those in the early '80s
Yeah.
here in
Yeah.
Colorado." So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of this
People,
stuff is not new.
it's
Yeah.
marketing, it's messaging, right? It's repackaging. There's no great original idea. I had a guy approach me. He wants to do a new podcast. I did a podcast with some guys in New York. It crushed. I mean, there was like 120,000 views in the first 48 hours. It was great. That makes you feel
Hmm.
good that people want to listen. Anyway, I got a good rapport going with this gentleman, and he sent out an email to my podcasting booking crew, and they're like, "Hey, can we get Dave back? We want to talk about this new strategy, tokenization of real estate." And
Okay. Yeah.
I can't even wrap my head around it. I can't. I'm not a crypto guy. I don't understand partial ownership and the crypto stack and tokenization and I don't it's not my jam. There's going to be
Hmm.
somebody. X amount of years down the line, maybe one of my teenage sons, who will crush tokenized real estate. I'm sure it will be in effect, but it's not. It's if it doesn't make sense to me, I can't lean into it. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's just not my jam. But there's no other than that. I don't know of any new and exciting, fresh way in the real estate world to create incomes and be a service. Subject twos, rep loans, lease options. You know, think of
Yeah.
all the ways there are. None of them are new. It's just
Yeah. That
repackaging.
they've been around forever. So, well, that's
Yeah, for
probably a
sure.
pretty good stopping point today. How can people get a hold of you if they want to
Yeah,
learn
grab us
more or
at
check out your stuff?
you can grab us at legacyalliance.club, which is the education stuff. Again, my team will send you some links to throw in the show notes. If you want to get me direct, check me out on LinkedIn. Dave Seymour, Seymour on LinkedIn. Freedom Venture Investments is our investment firm. www.freedomventure. You can find us there. But
Okay.
again, I'm sure you'll be able to track me down. The good news is America's Most Wanted isn't looking for me anymore, so life is good.
That's good. All right. Well, thanks again, Dave. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Dan. God bless, man. Thank you.